Welcome to True Echo, where the stories that history forgets finally get the voice they deserve. Today's tale begins with a quiet old man at a gun range, a faded tattoo, and a Navy SEAL recruit who couldn't look away. What he uncovered wasn't just a piece of history, it was a truth buried for 50 years, filled with ghosts, sacrifice, and a final act that left everyone speechless. Every Tuesday, without fail, Leonard Briggs arrived at the Delano Gun Club at 9:56 a.m. sharp. Rain, sun, holiday, it didn't matter. That silver Ford pickup would rumble into the gravel lot, door creaking open as the old man stepped out with a thermos of black coffee in one hand and a vintage canvas bag in the other. His boots were always clean. His cap always low. His nod to the front desk clerk never came with words. And when he reached lane 12, he would unpack his gear slowly, with the rhythm of ritual. To the regulars, Leonard was a curiosity that faded into the background. He wasn't loud. He didn't chat. He wasn't like the dads teaching their sons, the off-duty cops jawing about ballistics, or the weekend warriors comparing optics. He didn't fit into any mold. And yet, nobody questioned why he came. Because Leonard hit every mark, every time. His stance was perfect. His breath control surgical. Pop pop pop. Always center mass. Always in control. Most assumed he was just another veteran, quiet, retired, maybe lonely. Some guessed he had lost someone. Others thought he just liked the smell of gunpowder and the echo of silence it brought. No one asked. No one dared. Until Logan Ferris did. Fresh out of Phase 1 from BUD/S, Logan was a lean, sharp-cut 24-year-old with calloused hands and a fire in his eyes. His cousin Cole, a Bakersfield cop, brought him to the range to unwind after training. Logan was still sore, still recovering from Hell Week, but alert. As he set up at lane 10, something about the man at lane 12 drew his eyes again and again. It was the way Leonard stood, not like a hobbyist, but like someone who had nothing to prove and everything to remember. Cole, Logan whispered, nudging his cousin. That guy's got textbook form. Cole didn't look. Old man's been coming here longer than I've had this badge. Keeps to himself. But Logan kept watching. Then Leonard rolled up his sleeves to adjust his grip, and Logan saw it, an old, nearly faded tattoo on the inside of his forearm. Not flashy. Just 6 digits. Above them, a dagger with wings, subtle, unmistakably military. Logan stepped out of his lane, adrenaline buzzing with a strange reverence. "Sir," he said quietly, "sorry to bother you, but that ink, what unit's that from?" Leonard didn't flinch. Didn't even look at him at first. He just kept his eyes on the target and let out a slow breath. Then, calmly, he replied. "Haven't been asked that in a long time." Then he turned, just slightly, and looked at Logan. His eyes weren't soft. They were sharp, like broken glass polished smooth over time. Eyes that had seen things no recruit could imagine. "You a SEAL?" "Trying to be, sir." "Just finished Phase 1. Leonard nodded once. "Then you know better than to ask questions you might not be ready to hear the answers to." It wasn't a threat. It was a test. Or maybe an invitation. Logan didn't move. Didn't speak. He just listened. Leonard turned back to the target and fired 3 more rounds. Pop pop pop. All center. Logan stayed, standing quietly behind him, unsure whether to go back to his lane or keep listening. Then Leonard set his pistol down and reached for his thermos. "You got family in the service?" "My dad. Navy. Passed when I was 11. Leonard nodded. "Sit. I'm not going anywhere fast." Logan pulled up a chair beside him. There were other shooters down the line, brass clinking, distant thunder from shotguns and ARs, but none of it seemed to matter anymore. Leonard leaned forward, his voice low. "That tattoo wasn't official." "Not at first. We weren't listed in any books. It was Cambodia. 1970. Logan's eyebrows lifted. He knew the history. Officially, they hadn't even been there. We were a six-man team, Leonard said. No insignia. No backup. No promises. They called us Fong Unit. Never saw it written. Just whispered. The range around them faded. It was no longer Tuesday morning in Delano. It was a jungle, thick and alive, full of leeches, shadows, and secrets. Each number on my arm, Leonard continued, one for each of us. When one died, we crossed his number out. I've got 5 slashes. Logan looked down at the tattoo. 5 cuts. One number untouched. My name's the only one that made it back. Logan stared at the tattoo as if it had just started glowing. The lines were uneven, carved by hand. Real ink. Real pain. No stylized lettering, no commemorative banner, just 6 digits, slashed through 5 times. One still clean. 5 men, Logan said quietly. Leonard nodded. Charlie. Darnell. Vito. Reyes. Marcus Lee. He said their names like they were right there next to him. Not like memories, but like shadows that never left. Logan didn't ask more questions, not yet. He just listened, scribbling thoughts down in the corner of his mind. They never told our families, Leonard said, voice even. Didn't log our names. When I landed back in LA in '72, I caught a Greyhound back to Bakersfield. No brass band. No discharge ceremony. Just a handshake from a bus driver who didn't even look up. He paused to sip his coffee. The thermos hissed faintly in the air between them. I started washing cars the next day. Didn't tell anyone who I was. Didn't think it mattered. Logan clenched his fists. They erased you. Leonard turned toward him. No. They never wrote us down to begin with. Logan blinked slowly, the weight of that truth settling deep in his gut. Why are you telling me this? Leonard's answer came quickly. Because you looked. He let the words hang in the air. No embellishment. Just truth. That tattoo, Logan said carefully, you said it's not just a marker. It's a burial tag. Leonard nodded. A grave without dirt. Without headstones. Logan sat back, his heart pounding. This wasn't the kind of war story you read in books or saw in documentaries. This was the stuff that got locked in filing cabinets, if it ever made it that far. Ramos still got that limp? Leonard asked suddenly. Yeah, Logan replied. Shrapnel. You knew him? Leonard smiled faintly. We were kids together. Ramos never could duck fast enough. The silence between them was different now, less tension, more reverence. Lane 12 wasn't just a spot anymore. It was a monument, and Leonard was the last living witness. Logan showed up again the next Tuesday. This time, alone. He waited by the vending machine at 9:58 a.m., clutching a water bottle and a head full of questions. Leonard arrived 2 minutes later, same as always, silver Ford, cap low, thermos in hand. He tipped his head toward Logan and walked to lane 12 without a word. You here to shoot or to listen? Leonard asked as he set his bag down. Both, Logan said. Leonard loaded a fresh mag, then don't interrupt. Some things hurt more when you stop halfway. Logan nodded and pulled up the same folding chair, trying to disappear into silence. Leonard's hands moved with slow precision. Every action deliberate. Every breath controlled. Then Leonard spoke. First time I killed a man, I didn't even see his face. The sentence hit like cold water. Logan sat still. Cambodia. Near the Lelai ocean border. Intel said we were intercepting a courier with maps. For days in, We were starving, boiled leaves, river water. I took first watch. Heard movement. 2 of them, local mercs, probably NVA. Leonard's eyes were far away. His body was here, but his soul had already gone back 50 years. I shot the one with the machete straight through the chest. Second one I got in the throat. He gargled for 10 seconds. Then nothing. Logan blinked, unsure whether to respond. Leonard didn't wait for commentary. Next day, we found the courier. Already dead. Ambushed by another squad. Our mission had been pointless. We were ghosts chasing ghosts. He took another sip of coffee but didn't fire this time. Just stared downrange like the targets had faces. After that, he said softly, "We got new orders. Neutralize and vanish. No trace. No questions." Logan finally asked, "Did your team make it out?" Leonard's jaw twitched. "Not all. Monroe, Charlie, stepped on a landmine. Took off half his leg. We couldn't carry him. He begged us not to leave him." Leonard looked down at the bench. "That's number 2. Logan's throat tightened. "You remember them, all of them?" Leonard met his eyes. "Every last one. Why didn't you ever tell anyone?" "The VA. Press." Leonard let out a dry, bitter laugh. "You think they wanted some black kid from Kern County claiming to be part of a ghost unit? I couldn't even get my discharge papers corrected." He paused, jaw tight. "Ramos tried. Got farther than me. But they shut that down real quick." A long silence followed. Logan sat motionless, notebook clenched in his lap. "That's history," Leonard said. "Not the kind they put in books. But the kind that builds bones under the dirt." Then, for the first time that morning, he raised his pistol, took aim, and fired a single shot. It hit dead center. "You ever think about writing it down?" Logan asked. "I did," Leonard replied. "Then I burned it." "Why?" "Because the ones who need to remember already do. And the ones who don't care, never will." Logan sat back, a new kind of silence settling in his chest, one filled with sorrow, awe, and a weight he couldn't shake. The third Tuesday, Logan brought a notebook. Leonard noticed immediately. "You writing a book now?" Logan shook his head. "Just don't want to forget." Leonard waved him closer. "Then let me tell you about Reyes." He didn't say it with sadness. He said it like a man who'd been waiting for someone, anyone, to ask. And Logan, for all his training and toughness, had no idea what it would cost him to hear what came next. Leonard took a breath. It was slow and controlled, but Logan could see the weight behind it. He adjusted his earmuffs, looked downrange for a moment like he was back there again, and then began to speak. "Reyes was the youngest of us besides me. Kid from Yuma. Grew up between cotton fields and the garage where his old man fixed transmissions. He was wiry. Quick hands. Nervous laugh." Leonard smiled faintly, then lifted his pistol and fired once, center mass. Then again. Tight grouping. He got assigned to us straight out of Fort Benning. Said he wanted to see action. We all laughed. Told him he'd see more than he ever wanted. Logan leaned forward, notebook balanced on one knee. He didn't write just yet. He wanted to hear every word first, uninterrupted. "Reyes kept a rosary in his sock," Leonard said. Said it grounded him. That and Marvin Gaye. He used to hum "What's Going On" under his breath when we were hiking through the jungle. Drove Monroe crazy. Leonard chuckled once, an echo of a memory more than real amusement. Then his face changed. The humor faded, and something deeper crept in, regret. "We were on a recon mission. Intel said there was a weapons stash near an old stone temple, borderland stuff. Locals didn't go near it. Said it was cursed. He paused, took a sip of coffee. The thermos hissed in the silence. We laughed it off. Thought it was just superstition. But Reyes, he stopped and set the thermos down gently. Reyes stepped on a tripwire. Crude setup, grenade in a buried can. Blew both his legs off. Logan's breath hitched. Leonard looked out across the range, eyes glossy but hard. He didn't die right away. It took 6 hours. The words came out flat. Not cold. Not empty. Just scarred. I stayed with him the whole time. Held him down while he screamed. I sang to him. I don't even sing, but I sang every Marvin Gaye lyric I could remember. He wiped his brow. The sun was beginning to stretch long across the pavement. He bled so much, the dirt turned black. I remember thinking the ground looked like it was swallowing him. Logan still hadn't written anything. His hands were clenched too tight around the notebook. He couldn't even blink. That's number 4, Leonard said quietly. After Reyes, I stopped humming. Stopped praying, too. He didn't say it like a confession. He said it like a gravestone. Then he looked at Logan, directly. We weren't just soldiers, Logan. We were shadows. We did the things the brass couldn't admit needed doing. And when we came back, they made sure we disappeared. Logan finally whispered, but you survived. Leonard nodded. Barely. He stood up, stretched his back, and walked to the edge of the lane. He stared at the paper target like it had something to say. Then fired 3 more shots in a tight triangle. Pop pop pop. Logan stood next to him. You ever tell your mother? He asked. Leonard laughed, a sound brittle as rust. She thought I worked in supply logistics. I let her believe it. Wrote letters full of lies. Told her we were stationed in safe zones. That we had hot meals and hot showers. He holstered his pistol, then leaned against the bench. Truth is, we drank rainwater from our ponchos and buried our own with our hands. They didn't speak for a while. The range had quieted. A few shooters packed up and left. No one came near lane 12. You still dream about it? Logan asked. Leonard nodded. Some nights I wake up to Reyes humming. Or Monroe's scream. And I just sit on the couch until sunrise. I don't scream. I don't cry. I just wait. Logan finally flipped open the notebook and scribbled a single line. He doesn't cry. He waits. Leonard noticed. Said nothing. But then he did something unexpected. He stood and walked to the teenage boy 2 lanes over, the one fumbling with ear protection while his mom adjusted the target. Don't rush the shot, Leonard said gently. Let the shot come to you. Breathe out first. The boy looked up, startled. Then nodded. His mother mouthed a soft, thank you. Leonard walked back, sat down beside Logan. You do that a lot? Logan asked. Leonard shrugged. Only when they look like they're trying. Logan looked at him. Not as a soldier. Not as a ghost. But as something else entirely, a keeper of truths no one wanted to hear, and a protector of stories no one else could carry. I've got 100 questions, Logan said. Leonard poured the last of his coffee into the lid of the thermos. Good. But don't ask all of them today. Some truths need time to stretch. And then, before packing up his bag, Leonard said something that would stay with Logan long after the range emptied. You want to be a SEAL? Then you better understand, some wounds don't bleed. Some just echo. Loudest in the quiet. And just like that, they gathered their things and left the range. But neither of them knew, next Tuesday would bring more than stories. It would bring confrontation. And proof that even ghosts still know how to fight. The next Tuesday, Logan was already at the range by 9:45 a.m., pacing near the vending machines, notebook tucked under his arm, head full of the stories Leonard had already given him, and the 1,000 more he hadn't. He hadn't slept much the night before. Too many images danced in his mind: a boy bleeding in the jungle, a man humming through pain, names carved into skin like a headstone. By 9:58, Logan checked his watch, fidgeting. Leonard was never late. Then, at 9:59, the old silver Ford rolled into the lot, tires crunching over gravel like a drumbeat. Leonard stepped out slower than usual, his cap dripping from the soft rain that had started to fall. His gait was tighter. Jaw set. Something was off. "You good?" Logan asked, falling in beside him as they walked toward lane 12. Leonard gave a stiff nod. "Didn't sleep." Logan didn't press. Whatever it was, it would come when Leonard was ready. As they rounded the corner to their lane, the atmosphere felt different. The place was more crowded. For men had taken up lanes 8 through 11, matching jackets, loud laughs, bulky builds. One of them was filming the others on his phone as they showed off their groupings and shouted over the pop of gunfire. It wasn't unusual. But the energy shifted the second they noticed Leonard. One elbowed his buddy. "Yo, that old dude can barely lift his gun." Logan's spine stiffened. He turned toward the group, jaw already set. Leonard didn't react. Just calmly placed his bag on the bench and began unpacking. "Hey, Grandpa," another one called out. "You sure you're supposed to be here?" Logan turned. "Hey. Back off." The tallest one smirked. "Relax, seal boy. We're just messing around." "Yeah." Logan stepped closer. "Then mess around on your own damn lane." Leonard raised one hand, a gesture for Logan to stop. Calm, but commanding. Then he stepped forward. Without saying a word, Leonard raised his pistol and fired 5 shots. Pop 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 pop. They cut a hole clean through the center of the target, no misses, no hesitation. It wasn't showboating. It was a statement. Leonard lowered the weapon, turned slightly toward the men, and said in a voice just loud enough to carry. "I've buried 5 friends who died protecting people they didn't even know. You think words from men like you mean anything to me?" The 4 men fell quiet. The smirks vanished. The range manager had stepped out of the office, eyeing the scene from a distance. "Everything good out here?" Leonard turned back to the bench and holstered his pistol. "Fine," he said, never raising his voice. "Just needed to stretch my aim." The group packed up quietly. No more comments. No more swagger. They left 15 minutes later, heads down, voices low. When the echoes of their departure finally settled, Logan sat beside Leonard. "You didn't have to say anything." Leonard stared at the target. "No," he replied, "but sometimes people need to be reminded what respect looks like." Logan tapped his notebook, then paused. That wasn't just respect. That was something else. Leonard glanced over, one brow raised. That was control. "You could have humiliated them." "I didn't need to." The loudest man in the room is usually the one who's never been hit. Logan chuckled, the tension bleeding from his shoulders. "Guess they've never seen a real shooter before." "They've seen movies," Leonard replied. "That's not the same." The rest of the session was quiet. Logan took shots. Leonard gave corrections. No more stories, no more ghosts. Just brass and breath and discipline. But by the end, Logan couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed. Not just with those 4 men, but with the entire room. The regulars, the staff, even the new faces. They looked at Leonard differently now. He wasn't just the quiet old man with perfect aim. He was the real deal. And they all knew it. As they packed up, Logan walked Leonard to his truck. "Those guys," Logan said, they're going to talk about you now. Leonard paused before getting in. Let them. Maybe they'll tell it right. Maybe they won't. But the ones who needed to see it, they were already watching. He pulled the door shut, turned the key, and gave Logan a short nod as the engine rumbled to life. Logan stood there for a long moment after the truck rolled away, notebook pressed to his chest, heart still thudding, not from the near confrontation, but from what it had revealed. Leonard wasn't just a ghost from a forgotten war. He was presence. And presence doesn't need permission. Logan didn't sleep that night. Every time he closed his eyes, the sound of Leonard's voice returned, not the calm version, but the one that cracked when he said, 6 hours, when he whispered, the ground looked like it was swallowing him. It was haunting. It was human. By Wednesday morning, Logan found himself scribbling on napkins in his uncle's garage, trying to make sense of it all. Not just the war stories, but the man beneath them. Leonard had seen hell, and instead of letting it eat him, he turned it into rhythm, into breath, into steady hands, into 5 shots dead center. But the next week, Leonard didn't show. Logan sat at the range for an hour, pacing, checking the office, walking the lot. No silver Ford. No thermos. No lane 12. Just absence. A knot formed in his stomach, slow and hard. By Wednesday evening, Logan drove across town to the address Leonard had scribbled on a gas receipt 2 weeks earlier. A modest one-story house with chipped white paint and a screen door that hung slightly ajar. Wind chimes knocked lazily in the breeze. A neighbor leaned against his porch rail, Dodger's cap low. "You lookin' for Briggs?" the man asked. Logan nodded. Ambulance came Monday. VA hospital down in Fresno. Heart, I think. Logan's stomach dropped. He didn't remember getting back in his car, but the next thing he knew, he was sitting in a vinyl hospital chair beside Leonard's bed, fluorescent lights buzzing above. Leonard looked smaller. Wires at his chest. Oxygen hissing softly. But his eyes were still sharp, still Leonard. "Took you long enough," he croaked, voice dry but present. "You scared me." Leonard smiled faintly. "Scared myself, too. First time in 20 years I've been admitted anywhere. Told them I didn't need a bed. Just needed a cup of coffee and a target." Logan sat down, exhaling hard. "They say you'll be okay." Leonard gave a slow nod. "I'm not done yet. But I'm getting close." They didn't speak for a moment. Machines beeped around them, indifferent. Logan looked down at his notebook, then back at Leonard. "You always tell the truth." Leonard smiled with half his mouth. "Not always. But I always knew when I was lying." Then, his face changed. Not in pain, but in preparation. "There's something I've never told anyone," he said. "Not my wife. Not the VA. Not even Ramos." He shifted slightly, wincing. "Our last mission, we weren't just there to intercept intel. We were ordered to clear a village. Said it was a Viet Cong hub. Claimed all civilians had been evacuated." He stopped, eyes hardening. "But they weren't. We got there and it was just people. Old women. Men. Kids." Logan felt a chill crawl down his back. "We were too deep. No comms. No way out. So we followed orders." He swallowed hard. "There was a boy. Couldn't have been older than 9. Held something that looked like a weapon. I didn't wait. I fired." Leonard's voice caught. It was a toy. Carved from wood. The silence in the room swallowed everything. Logan couldn't breathe. "I've carried that for 50 years, Leonard whispered. "Not because I wanted to forget. But because I thought silence was how I paid for it." Logan leaned forward, eyes burning. "You didn't know." "I knew enough," Leonard said firmly. War turns you into something. Something you never wanted to be. And I let it happen. He looked directly at Logan, not blinking. You want to be a SEAL? Then you better be ready to carry everything. Not just pride. Not just wins. But shame. The kind that scratches behind your eyes when you try to sleep. Logan nodded slowly, throat dry. Why tell me now? Leonard exhaled. Because you asked. And because if someone doesn't know the whole story, the rest of it doesn't mean much. They sat there, 2 generations apart, the same war between them. Finally, Leonard leaned back and closed his eyes. I don't need to be forgiven, he whispered. I just need it to be remembered the way it really happened. Logan didn't say anything. He just sat there and listened, again. 2 weeks later, Leonard was discharged. He refused the wheelchair, insisted on walking out under his own power, slow but unbroken. Logan waited in the lot, truck engine running, door open. Leonard grunted as he climbed in. Hospitals make you miss the good air. You sit too long, the world starts to feel smaller. I figured you'd say that, Logan said, smiling. They drove in silence for a while, farmland passing outside the windows. Just past Wasco, Leonard spoke. I kept thinking about what I said at the hospital. About that boy. Logan glanced over but stayed quiet. Leonard traced slow circles on the dashboard with his fingers. Saying it didn't fix anything. But it helped. More than any chaplain ever did. They pulled into the range's gravel lot just before noon. Logan had rented it out, just for them. Just Leonard. One last session. You trying to get me sentimental? Leonard asked as he stretched. Not trying, Logan said. Just figured you'd want one more shot. They set up lane 12 like always. Leonard's hands were slower, stiffer, but steady. He loaded the magazine like he had done it 1,000 times. Because he had. Funny thing about weapons, Leonard said. People think they define you. They don't. They just reveal what's already in you. He fired 5 shots, slow, methodical. Tight grouping. Then he looked at Logan. I'm not proud of everything I did, he said. But I'm proud I never ran from it. Logan stepped closer. That's what I'll carry. Not just the stories. But how you held them. Leonard reached into his bag and pulled out a small, folded envelope. It was worn at the edges. This is for you, he said. Don't open it here. Wait till you're alone. Logan took it, unsure. What is it? Instructions, Leonard replied. For when I'm gone. Logan's throat tightened. Don't say that. I'm not dying today, Leonard said with a crooked grin. But we don't always get notice. As they packed up, neither spoke. It was quiet. Reverent. Sacred. Before they parted, Leonard placed a hand on Logan's shoulder. His grip was weaker now, but the meaning behind it was stronger than ever. You go serve, he said. But remember, some men fight to be remembered. Others fight because they can't forget. Logan's voice caught. I know which one you were. Leonard smiled once more, climbed into his truck, and drove away. Logan stood there, envelope in hand, wind brushing over his arms. He didn't open it. Not yet. Because he already knew, what was inside would be heavier than anything he'd carried in BUD/S. Logan didn't open the envelope that night. He sat in his apartment, the lights low, Leonard's envelope resting on the coffee table like a relic. It wasn't sealed with wax or stamped with anything official. It was just paper, creased and yellowed, but it felt heavier than steel. He kept reaching for it, then pulling back. Because deep down, he already understood, whatever was written in that envelope wasn't just about Leonard. It was about all of them, the ones with slashes through their numbers, the ones no one ever logged, the ones whose stories only existed in Leonard's breath and Logan's notebook. He finally unfolded it just after midnight. Inside were 6 names. Charles Monroe, Darnell Vito, Reyes Salazar, Marcus Lee, Victor Red Collins, Leonard Briggs. Each followed by a birth year. Only Leonard's had no slash through it. At the bottom of the page, in Leonard's shaky but clear handwriting, was a single line. Make sure someone remembers them right. Logan placed the letter beside his notebook, now filled with hours of truth, pain, and clarity. Not a single one of those men had a medal display. No monuments. No flags. But here, in this one letter, they were immortal. That weekend, Logan went back to the range alone. No Leonard. No crowd. Just Lane 12, the smell of cordite, and memory. He fired a few rounds, all center mass. But it didn't feel the same. Not without the slow nod of approval from a man who had bled his history into every bullet. The following Tuesday, Logan was surprised to find the range full again. The 4 loud men who had mocked Leonard were nowhere to be seen, but something had changed. Shooters gave polite nods. The manager walked by with fresh targets in hand, dropping one beside Logan without a word. Even the mother and her teenage son from the previous week were back. This time, the boy stood with firmer footing, breath steady. You changed the room, Logan told Leonard the next time they spoke, this time over the phone, the crackling line barely able to hold the weight of Leonard's voice. I didn't change anything, Leonard said. They just stopped pretending not to see. There was silence on the line, not uncomfortable. Just full. You ever feel like maybe it was worth it? Logan asked. That people are starting to get it now? Leonard let out a slow exhale. I fought because I was told it would matter. That if we proved ourselves, we'd be remembered the same as anyone else. And memory's a tricky thing, Logan. People don't remember what makes them uncomfortable. They remember fear. They remember courage. Sometimes that's enough. Logan stared out the window. It's not just about medals, is it? Leonard gave a low laugh. Medals? I got 2 bronze stars in a drawer next to a broken flashlight. They don't talk to you. Don't answer when your kid asks why you cry in your sleep. Medals don't hold your hand when your nightmares won't let go. Another pause. You planning to record any more? Leonard asked. Logan hesitated. I was thinking about it. Then don't do it for YouTube fame, Leonard said flatly. Don't water this down for clickbait. You record so someone hears it and understands what they're asking when they send kids like you into the fire. I promise, Logan said. A week later, Logan brought a recorder and placed it on the bench at lane 12. Leonard sat beside him, hands steady again, eyes softer now. They talked for 2 hours. About how the jungle smelled like diesel and death. About how you could tell what kind of fighter someone was by how they held their silence. About how Reyes once danced barefoot in the rain before a mission, claiming it gave him luck. Leonard told stories that didn't make sense to anyone who hadn't been there, fireflies used as signal flares, code tapped in Morse on rifle barrels, body heat measured with mirrors and instinct. Why now? Logan asked as Leonard sipped his coffee. Because if I go tomorrow, I need to know this didn't die with me. Leonard stood, stretched, and watched the other shooters. That kid again, he said, motioning to the same teenager who'd struggled weeks ago. He's getting better. Logan smiled. Thanks to you. Leonard gave a noncommittal shrug. Only when they're trying. As the sun dipped low and the wind picked up, Logan asked something he'd wanted to say since the beginning. If you had the chance, would you do it again? Leonard didn't answer right away. He holstered his pistol, wiped it down carefully, then said. I'd go. But I'd fight harder to be seen when I came back. That answer hit Logan like a hammer. It wasn't regret. It was revelation. Later that night, Logan organized his notes and recordings, labeling them not with Leonard's name but with the names of the 5/digits. Because Leonard wasn't asking for his own legacy. He was asking for theirs. As he closed the last notebook, his phone buzzed. It was a message from Leonard. You listening doesn't make it hurt less. But it makes it mean something. Logan stared at the screen for a long time. Then replied. You gave me something the Navy never could, the reason behind the uniform. He didn't know it yet, but Leonard had one final story to tell. A truth buried even deeper. One not about war, but about what it means to live afterward. The last Tuesday came like all the others, sun breaking across the hills, range doors yawning open at 9 a.m., and Logan pacing near the vending machine by 9:55. He had the notebook. He had the recorder. But he didn't have Leonard. 10 o'clock, no Ford. 10:07, no coffee thermos. 10:15, Logan walked the lot. Still nothing. By 10:30, he knew. This Tuesday would be different. He drove straight to the house, white paint still peeling, the wind chimes quieter now. No sign of Leonard. He knocked anyway. No answer. Just that stillness again. That afternoon, he got the call from the VA. Leonard had passed sometime during the night. Peacefully, they said. No pain. No struggle. Just a breath, and then no more. Logan didn't cry. Not yet. He just stood in the hospital corridor with his phone in one hand, the other braced against the wall like something had kicked the air out of him. When the nurse handed him the small personal box Leonard left behind, there were only 3 things inside. A dog tag with a name too clean to carry the truth. A folded range report from Lane 12, dated 4 years earlier, 5 perfect shots. And a photograph, 6 young men in jungle gear, arms slung over each other's shoulders, eyes both hardened and somehow still whole. On the back of the photo, in Leonard's handwriting, were 6 words. We were never ghosts to each other. The funeral was quiet. VA burial. Military standard. Taps, folded flag, minimal turnout. Logan spoke, even though no one asked him to. He read the names. He told a single story, the Marvin Gaye song Reyes used to hum, and how Leonard had sung it for him in the mud while his legs bled out into the earth. When Logan stepped down, an older man in a tan coat came up to him. Weathered face. Faded tattoo. A limp in one leg. You knew Briggs? He asked. Logan nodded. He taught me everything that matters. The man gave a heavy smile. He saved my life once. Pulled me out of a ravine under fire. Never told anyone. I'd always meant to thank him again. Logan looked at the man's wrist. 6 numbers. 5 slashed. 1 clean. You're Ramos, Logan said. He nodded once. He talked about the last mission. Logan met his eyes. He told me everything. Ramos exhaled. Then it's your job now. 3 weeks later, Logan stood again at Lane 12. This time, alone. He set down Leonard's thermos, empty now but still warm with memory, then unpacked his gear. The range was fuller now. Young shooters. Parents with teens. A few old faces, too. Logan didn't say much. He didn't have to. He loaded his pistol, took position, and remembered Leonard's words. Let the shot come to you. 5 rounds. Center mass. All tight. All deliberate. He stepped back and took out his phone, unlocking the recordings. He listened to Leonard's voice again, the one from the 2-hour session they'd shared. It crackled a little, but it was clear. You want to be remembered? Then don't waste it. Don't waste what we paid for. Logan closed the recorder and turned toward the shooting bay's bulletin board. He pinned the photo of the 6 men, the only one in existence. And below it, on a clean index card, he wrote. Phong Unit. Cambodia, 1970. They were never ghosts. Over the next few weeks, others began to ask. Who was that guy with the flat cap? Did he really serve? Was he as good as they say? Logan never corrected them. He just told the truth. Leonard Briggs wasn't loud. He wasn't famous. But every Tuesday, he reminded the world that some battles don't end with ceasefires. Some carry on, silent and sharp, in the minds of those left standing. Logan would go on to finish SEAL training. He made it through Hell Week again. Then through qualification. Then deployment. But no matter where he went, Fallujah, Kandahar, Djibouti, he carried one thing that no one else had, the memory of 5 men and the 6th who lived to tell it. The notebook traveled with him. So did the thermos. And once a month, wherever he was, he'd find a range, wait for the quiet to settle, and fire 5 perfect shots into center mass. Then one shot through the heart. Not for practice. For presence. Some heroes don't wear medals. Some stories aren't taught in classrooms. But memory, real memory, lives in the choices we make when no one's watching. Leonard Briggs wasn't asking for glory. He just wanted someone to listen. And Logan did. So tell someone. Write something. Let memory do what medals can't. This was a story that deserved to be remembered. Subscribe to True Echo for more stories that matter. Stories that echo beyond headlines, into the hearts of those willing to carry them forward.